Hi, how are you tonight? I'm Roberta Colasino and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator coming to you for another few weeks from Pompano Beach, Florida. Typically, I come to you from the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. All right, just refreshing my screen here. This morning when I turned on my computer, it wouldn't turn on. And I thought, this is it, it's dead, but it wasn't, at least not yet. I think it's probably trying to tell me something, but I think I'm good. All right, so I'm only going to make, well, in the end run, I'm only going to make 2 cards tonight, but I'm really going to show you how to use one set to make multiple cards. I'm just not going to actually do it. I might if we have time, but I'm not promising anything. Okay? All right, so the first thing, let's see, let's turn the camera down. And lately that's been, pardon the expression, but a real crapshoot almost every time I do it. So we will have to see what happens, but I'm going to flip it around. You see how everything in the background is blurry? So that's been kind of a new thing, and it seems to be something that Facebook has done. It's not really me. When you're using the forward-facing camera, I guess you would call it. And so when I'm using the other camera, the back of the camera, kind of like you would if you were actually taking a picture, I think, things aren't blurry. So the things on the table aren't blurry, but sometimes they're backwards when I first go down, and I don't know why, and you don't care. So we'll just see if I can get it right this time, the first time, or at least the second or third time. How's that for not making too many promises? All right, so then I have to stand up, which I never had to do before, so that I can see what's going on there. And then I think I'm seeing that you're looking at the fans, so we're going to flip it down. And yeah, okay, looks good. I have to kind of take a peek because if I don't have a clue what's going on. And then, let's see, we're just going to, sorry, I suppose I can at least keep my fingers out of the way, right? All right, kind of adjust that. And, well, let's see. All right, that was like pretty good. I think I actually got it right the first time. Woohoo! All right. Now I can get a little bit comfortable. So, as I've mentioned the last couple of weeks, I'm doing a winter special, and today might be different. I'm going to have to offer you some options. So you saw the cards that I offered for last week, and that was for anyone that placed an order over $35 was going to get everything they needed to make those 3 cards. Some of those cards used DSP, and I can give you DSP. I can give you die-cut shapes and things die-cut out of DSP if that happens to be a thing that will work. But I cannot give you stamped images. It's just against the rules. So this particular set that we're playing with tonight has no dies, and actually both of them have no dies. And so the only way that you could really make the same cards that I made would be if you purchase the set. And that's typically, as strange as it sounds, not my goal is to force you into getting the set. I will, however, say that both sets, I think, are the kind of sets that you could have in your stash and use forever. So if you make a $35 purchase, you will get either a kit to make the cards that I made last week, and that would be your choice, or a kit to make the cards that I'm making this week, with the option, of course, of purchasing one or both of the stamp sets. All right. If you happen to purchase over $50, then I will also send you the class kit along with some type of a gift, you know, probably a ribbon or a embellishment or something like that. And remember that if you spend over $50, you will also get a free celebration item. So that's kind of cool. So you're getting that absolutely free just for spending $50 before tax and shipping. If you spend $100 before tax and shipping, you could get 2 of the $50 items called level 1 items, or you could get 1 of the $100 items. They don't make you buy a $100 item just because you spent $100. So you could get 2 things for spending that $100. If you should spend over $150, do not use this host code, but give me a shout out and let me know that you made a purchase, because you will get rewards. So in that case, if you were to spend $150 or more before tax and shipping, you would get 3 $50 items or a $100 item and 1 $50 item, plus you would get I believe it's 15% in rewards, which would probably allow you to purchase at least one other item, possibly two, depending on what you're interested in buying. Any questions about any of that, please reach out to me. Don't hesitate to ask. Okay, so I said that I was bringing you something sweet today, and I'm sure everybody thought that meant Valentine's, but you know, today's Valentine's Day, and happy Valentine's Day, by the way, but it's over. If you haven't sent anybody a card by now, you're probably not going to, and it's late to be buying Valentine's stamps. So we are going to start out today with the Cradled in Love set, which is a celebration set. So in the celebration brochure, this set is one, and I just want to really, I don't know what that means. A little piece of paper reminding me about reservations. I hope it's nothing important. Okay. I believe, let me just check to see if I'm correct. There it is. So this is free with a $50 purchase. There are no dies, and you will see that I have fussy cut some things that were super easy to fussy cut, even for people who don't like it. Little tiny bottles and elephants and other things I might or might not fussy cut. This mobile would be really kind of difficult to fussy cut, as with this little hook perhaps, but it is a very sweet set, and it even has the word sweet in it, so I didn't feel like I was misleading you by saying I was bringing you something sweet tonight. So what I did, because you watched me do a lot of coloring last week and I didn't want to subject you to that again, if you are someone who's never used our blends and you would like to know how to use them, caveat, comma, I am not an expert by any means, but if you'd like to learn how to use them, then please let me know and I can do a video that you can see just to do that, all right? So I've started out with some bubble bath cardstock, and I didn't have my bone folder when I did this earlier. There we go. I used the little stamp that says sweet, the little stamp that says baby, the little stamp that says girl. Obviously, this is pretty girly. I also used the baby bottle. And what I did is I just stamped those all around the outskirts of the card. I stamped a couple in the middle just to test them, but we're going to be covering that up. So I stamped just all around the card with those just to create sort of my own little background or border. And I did that also in the bubble bath ink, so it's tone on tone. All right, and then I've got, these things are so tiny, I'm always afraid of losing them. I'm already, no, there's the baby bottle, okay. So because I wanted to see some of that, I cut a piece of basic white cardstock at 3 3/4 by 5 so that we could see some of that. Because if I did the usual 4 by 5 1/4, I would feel like I wasted my time doing that stamping because you couldn't see any of it all, and I think that's kind of cute. So my theory was here that I would stamp and cut out a few things ahead of time. So I stamped the baby bassinet, and it looked to me like it was supposed to be wicker. If I had white embossing powder with me, because I'm kind of a fan of white wicker, I might have done this in white embossing, but instead I did it in kind of a neutral tone. So I stamped it in pecan pie, but then I colored it with the blends in the places that needed coloring using the crumb cake. And then I colored the little mattress pink, and I colored the towel so that it was the bubble bath with some light or dark pink, dark bubble bath, dark bubble bath stripes. And then I also colored or stamped and cut out the rug. So I stamped the rug with an outline of Flirty Flamingo, and then colored it in bubble bath and went over some of the lines that were already there from our artists. And I went over some of those with a little bit of Flirty Flamingo as well, just so there was kind of a little bit of matching going on there. And I stamped and cut out, I fussy cut the elephant, and I have to say, it really wasn't difficult. Again, I know some of you just hate the thought of fussy cutting, and I get it. I also fussy cut the little baby bottle. So what I did not fussy cut, but I do need to use, are the rest of the items for the crib. So there's this pole that hangs up that you can hang a mobile from. So those I'm going to stamp. And I just have to kind of figure out where I want to put them. So I'm going to stamp the little hook or arch or whatever you want to call it in pecan pie because that's what I stamped the crib in, or the bassinet. I wouldn't really call that a crib, I'd call that a bassinet. So I just kind of have to figure where I want to stamp that so that when I place the bassinet over it, it'll be correct. I also want to do a little dry fitting with my rug. So I think I want the rug kind of a little bit under that, although I'm thinking if you had a bassinet, you wouldn't want it to be wobbly wiggly, so maybe the rug wouldn't be under the bassinet, but I just sort of think it looks prettier that way. So if we're saying that all 4 of the legs are on it, then it wouldn't be wobbly, right? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, and then I'll show you just a couple of alternatives for things that we can add to this card. So I'm going to move everything down so I have some room for some stamping. I'm going to ink this up in the pecan pie. I do have the window open, so I apologize because there's just like a little thing that happens here. You know that thing that's been going on kind of really all around the country where people are going out at night on their motorbikes and motorcycles and whatever else they've got that makes lots of noise. Yeah, that's happening down here, only like just a lot is happening. I'm going to move this down a tiny bit so I can see through it and see where I am. It may not be perfect, but I can live with that. Okay, and then this is going to go over it anyway, so I have the opportunity to put that wherever I want it. And then the mobile I can put on afterwards. So we're going to leave that there. I'm going to grab some dimensionals. Anyway, so after dark, usually a little bit later, but not necessarily much later, it starts. And it will sound like the Indy 500 is happening outside my window. And like I said, for that I apologize, but I'm trying not to use the air conditioning too much because it's, to be honest, it's not comfortable for me because it blasts and then it stops and then it blasts and then it stops. And I'm just like, I'm cold and then I'm hot and I'm cold and I'm hot. So on nights when it's nice like it is tonight, I just really love having the windows open. Okay, so we're going to use some dimensionals and get those on there. So I did post in the group today just one picture. There were lots of pictures. I had asked one of the young ladies who lives here to be my dedicated photographer because I'm so bad at remembering to take pictures at events. So we did a Valentine's card making thing on Sunday here, and it was for adults and children alike, and a couple of different people who had some paper from, one person had some construction paper from where she worked, and I of course had some designer series paper, and someone else had some old scrapbook paper that she didn't use anymore. And so what we did was everybody donated some things, or several of us did, and then we had this class, and there was really no fee for anybody. It was just kind of a fun community thing to do. And in the picture you can see that quite a few people turned out, and only one of them said that she had ever done anything like this before, that she used to do it years ago. The others were total newbies, had no idea what a stamp set was. This is funny too. I took my, oh, you know what? I wanted to move that down further, but I really can't because of where I put that. So, so the night before the class, I had this chocolate mold that I had purchased for a Valentine's class I did here in the past so that I could make little chocolate hearts. And I bought white chocolate, but it was dyed pink or colored pink or whatever. And so I made about 20 of those little hearts just to kind of pass around and let people snack on while they were working. And one of the ladies thought they were a stamp of some kind. She didn't know what the blocks were for. Everybody was looking at the blocks and had no idea what the acrylic blocks were. So I think they just thought they picked up the stamps and stamped with them because I hadn't yet gotten to that point of telling them. Yep, and I said I wanted to put the rug under there, and yet I still put the dimensionals on. So anyway, we almost had I would hardly call it a disaster, but we almost lost one piece of edible candy because it almost got dipped in some ink and stamped, which really would have been quite amusing. But she ended up not doing that because I caught her in time. it was kind of funny. So, you know, my point is too that really just proves how inexperienced these folks were, and yet, honest to God, that almost stamping with the chocolate was the closest thing to a disaster we had. Nobody was covered in ink. Everything went really well. Nobody had to. A couple of people flipped their, you know, cover piece over to stamp again, make a second stamp. Everybody had some scrap paper that they could practice on, but there were no disasters, and everybody walked out of there absolutely with a card that they could be proud of giving to somebody. So just for those who, you know, are sometimes saying, I can't do this, I've never done this before, this isn't my thing, I want to say, yes, you can. You can do it. All right, looking for my scrap paper. Not seeing it at the moment. I did let's see. So I'm going to use the smoky slate, but I think I wanted to stamp off once because even that was a little too dark. Here we go. So these were the posters for the event, and because the event was over, I ran around in the different buildings and took them down yesterday, and I was about to throw them in the recycling when I said, oh, no, 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 don't throw those in the recycling. Those will make great scrap paper. So I'm using smoky slate, and right now I'm just testing to see how dark that is, and that's not terrible, so I don't think I will stamp off. I just wanted to check and see what it looked like. So now again, I'm going to kind of get this a little bit closer to me. All right, so you can see where I want to be stamping is right at the end of this hook. But I'm going to pull it down because with the photopolymer stamps, you can see through them. And I definitely want to be able to see what I'm doing so that with any luck, I don't make a mess. All right, so that's not bad at all. I'm good with that. And then because I want these to be kind of pretty, I'm going to grab another piece of scrap paper. I think I'll fold it in half because I'm going to use my blends. So we have a moon, we have a whale, and we have a star. So I think what I'll do, and again, I'm sorry because chances are you won't get to see too much of this because it's just tiny. I'm going to use the dark Daffodil Delight for the moon, I think. Dark Daffodil Delight for the moon. Because sometimes the moon is yellow, for sure. Sometimes it's white, but white really isn't going to show, so therefore it's going to be yellow. And I'm going to use the smoky slate. Smoky slate? Yes, I'm going to use the light smoky slate, I think. And this is so tiny that, you know, there's just no point in doing any of the shading nonsense. All right, the light smoky slate for the whale. And I'll color him in on the bottom. Is that the light? It is. Okay, so, and then the top, I'll try to go a little bit lighter, but remember what I can use if I get it darker than I want it. I can use the color lifter if I want. And the color lifter can lift almost all of the color if you really make a mistake, or it can just lighten up where you want it to lighten up. So I'll go over across the top a little bit, maybe not the whole thing. And what happens is you start to see it lighten up. You want to stop and let it dry a little bit and take a look at it because it gets lighter as it dries, and next thing you know you have no color at all. So that's our whale. And I don't really know what color to make the star because the oranges I have are too orangey. Oh, what is this? Oh, that's pumpkin pie. All right, so here's a thought though. What if I do the light pumpkin pie, because I just want it to show, you know. I know that stars aren't really orange, but I can live with it. I'm going to go very lightly with the light pumpkin pie. And then I'm going to get out, let's see, lemon lolly. How about that? How about dark lemon lolly? I'm just experimenting here. I don't have a clue. It may or may not turn out okay. So that should lighten it up a little bit, maybe make it not quite so orange. Yeah, it's okay. I can live with that. And then for the final touch, again, even though it will probably be way too small for you to see, I'm going to, I've got my Wink of Stella here. Luckily it has a very thin brush tip. And I'm going to do the star in Wink of Stella, so there'll be some sparkle. I can hold it up and maybe we can hope that you see it, but if you've used Wink of Stella before, you've seen it and you know how nice it is. Yeah, I just don't know. Yeah, I always turn it until I see a little bit. Well, I think you're going to have to take my word for it, but it's there. It's sparkly, I promise. Okay, and then, I don't think I want to put it on the base yet. So here's where I just wanted to show you a couple of options. And I have some pieces of paper that I've cut to layer size, but they're just computer paper. They're not cardstock. And I do that sometimes for practice or for whatever. So I have all those stamps that I used on the background. I have the one that says sweet, and I have the one that says girl, and I have the one that says baby. But then I got out two more that I hadn't used before. So this one says bundle of joy, and this one says welcome little one. And if you've seen me show you how to do some things in the past with tape, there's a couple of possible options. So what if, so I'm just using regular Scotch tape, and this is, I don't even know what this brand is, and it's really crummy tape, but it's actually just fine for this. So let's say I wanted to use the bubble bath. Oh, I use bubble bath for 2 cards, so it's in the thing on the for the other card. Okay. So let's say I wanted to try something different, all right? I could stamp welcome little one. No, it's a little hard to see because it's quite pale. I could stamp welcome little one. I could stamp bundle of joy. But what if, let's clean those both off with the chamois. Ooh. Uh-oh. Okay. What if I wanted to do something slightly different? So what if I wanted to say, instead of welcome little one, and this would be tricky to line up, I have to be honest with you, it could be tricky. I'm putting a piece of tape over the word one. I'm going to ink it up, and yes, I'm going to get ink on the tape, and so what I do is immediately take that tape off, because if I try to stamp with the tape, I'm going to make a mess. So now I've got something that just says welcome, yeah, welcome little. All right, that sounds a little weird. I understand that sounds a little weird. But then, throw out this tape before I get ink all over myself. Now what if I go in and get the stamp that says girl, which is a slightly different font, which I like. I like mixing fonts. I know not everybody does. Okay, I just put my thumb in the ink. There we go. So now I can do welcome little girl. So bubble bath ink is tough ink to work with because it really is just very, very light. Yeah, there we go. So now I have welcome little girl. Okay, I could mix and match it a little bit more, and I could possibly have something like welcome bundle of joy, or bundle of joy, and then maybe stamp the word girl around it a few times. You get the idea. I just want you to see that you have options, that just because you only have so many sentiments doesn't mean that's really all you can do. All right, so before I lose these things, because they're just ridiculously tiny, of course there's no baby in here. They didn't give us a baby. And I guess that's okay. And I don't think anybody would have a picture of an actual baby unless they, you know, on their computer made it smaller. I mean, you could cut off the head of a baby and it would look like some alien. You don't want to do that. But if you had a picture that you could really reduce, maybe you could put an actual picture of the baby in here. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. I'm not going to mess with that. It sounds a little creepy. But we could put, you know, maybe, I mean, let's face it, I don't know about you, but when my kids were little, everything that was in their crib went flying across the room and landed on the floor. So you didn't often find their toys in their crib, you found them on the floor. Except the ones they loved the most. Those were always in the crib. And the bottles went flying too. Again, I don't know about your kids, but the bottles went flying. If they finished the bottle, they were done with it. That's it. Out it goes onto the floor. Everything becomes a projectile when you're in a crib. I think it's just a game they all play. So we're going to put him on the floor, kind of like, you know, maybe he got tossed and he's just sort of hanging out there. And then maybe one, oh, you can't see what I'm doing, can you? There we go. One mini dimensional for the bottle. That might almost be too big. That bottle is so ridiculously tiny. Let's see. Oh yeah, that'll work. Okay, so one mini dimensional on the bottle, and that could even be hanging out on the floor too. All right, because it seems silly to bother putting it in the crib when there's no baby in there. So that looks pretty darn cute. And whatever sentiment we want to use, we can use. Now sometimes we're sending somebody a card maybe before they even get the baby, have the baby, or they've had it, but you haven't heard yet what it is. So welcome little one is great because obviously it could be for a boy or a girl. Now in this case, I've kind of gone all out girl, so it's a little bit different. So that welcome little girl one might really be nice. We can just do welcome little girl, or welcome little one, sorry. And that would be fine. And then I could possibly, you know, stamp girl around here, but I've done that in the background, so I don't know if I want to do it again. So here's the other thing though. So the other set that I wanted to point out, besides this one that we're using for this card, is the Alphabest set. And I'm here to tell you, if you haven't gotten this set yet, given that this is in the annual catalog and that catalog is retiring in April, right? At the end of April. So if you haven't gotten this set, this is an amazing set. It has all of these letters, all of the numbers. It even has some of the characters, letters that are used in different languages. It has the @ symbol, and it has the $sign, but it also has the euro sign, you know, just so it's got plenty of things that you could use no matter where you live. And then the purpose of these little ones, and I know you've seen me use this before, is to add a background to the letters. And so what I've done here, and this one also coordinates in a bundle with the punch, which is called the Best Label Punch, which is very small. So what I did here was I took this one here that looks like polka dots. I took that one and I stamped it 3 times in Bubble Bath. And then I used the basic gray, which is a darker gray. All right, and I really don't know a baby named Anna. I know lots of adults named Anna. I was actually talking to an adult named Anna today by the pool, and she's definitely not a baby. But anyway, I stamped ANA on there, probably because I was trying to keep it short. You know, if the kid's name is Penelope or something, you're going to have a lot more room. Okay. And then I used the punch to cut it out. So you could even just use welcome instead of welcome little one, but you could use the name too. And again, if I were doing this, I would have moved everything over a touch, and I didn't. But you can use that to personalize any card, a birthday card, a graduation card, any card at all. And how cute is that? So that's the other thing I wanted to share with you. You could even really put it over here and have it going this way. All right, or I could stamp out the word baby and just put baby on it and forget using the other stamps altogether. So I wanted you to see the options, and with the next card that we're going to make, there are options as well. So I'm going to take these off for now because I don't like the way the cards laid out for using those. And I'm just going to get my glue. So you can see that the blends do bleed through. So it's a good idea to do this on scrap paper. All right. I also got rid of the pins that I had because they were not stainless steel, and I bought some of these pins on Amazon. If you are one of my local customers and you would like a few of these, if you have these bottles, just let me know because I think I literally bought 1,000. I mean, they came in a bag I'm pretty sure I won't use them all in my lifetime. So if you need a couple, just holler. They're yours. All right, so there we go. There are also people who eat outside for dinner in an area that's right outside this window where I am now. And sometimes they're, a little chatty and you can hear them. You won't be able to understand a word that they say unless you speak French, because that particular group is, they're French Canadians. So I hear them, but I have no idea what they're saying, other than, the words that we might all know, like bonjour and au revoir and whatever else. Okay, and then a liner for this card. I had one, now I don't. Let's see. So it might be kind of cute to put on the inside here, and then I would want to do this out of the card just in case it leaked. Would be to maybe stamp the elephant again and stamp the bottle again and just have that on the bottom on the inside. But I think I put those stamps away so I won't get them out again, but I will do that for when I take pictures of the card. And I think that's just really a pretty card, and obviously you do the same exact thing in blue and you've got a boy's card. Easy peasy. All right, next set that I'm going to use tonight, let me just get these out of the way. And I did use some of the same colors. I found these at, I think Marshall's, maybe TJ Maxx. Down here I go to both. At home there's a Marshall's right in town, so I go there more often. I got them at one of those two places, and they are really nice for putting your things in. I have baskets too, but these are kind of nice because my baskets are lighter colors, and if ink gets on this, because it's dark gray, you're not going to notice. Okay, so the next stamp set that I'm using is Carnival Treats. Now right here where I am in Pompano Beach, there is a Greek festival coming up nearby, and then there's one of the churches that has their Italian festival. I think it's next Sunday. So I'm kind of thinking festivals, all right? So again, so that you didn't have to watch me coloring too much, there are no sentiments. I just want you to notice that. No sentiments for this, so I have to reach to other stamp sets for sentiments if I want them. So I went ahead and I stamped some of these and cut them out just so that you could see them, but then I had a couple of different ideas for a card. So this is the Bubble Bath again, and I stamped the whole thing in Bubble Bath, but then just took the Highland Heather blend to make the cone look a little bit more colorful. This one I stamped in Crumb Cake, but I stamped off once, so it was very light. And I used the Crumb Cake blend around the outside of the donut, and then I used Lemon Lolly, the light Lemon Lolly, around the inside of the donut. And then I just used a variety of color blends to make the sprinkles. And if you look, you can see that there is a spot to actually put the sprinkles there, so I just basically colored over them with the blend. Okay, this I used, I think Cherry Cobbler, and I think Lemon Lolly for that too, but the dark Lemon Lolly for the popcorn. And then this one is a candy apple. So it could be a caramel apple, but I made mine a candy apple. And sometimes, usually up at the top, you can see a little bit of the apple still there. So this has the dark red. I used Cherry Cobbler, and then it looked like a granny apple. And I used granny apple green to make that look like a granny apple. Okay, so I wanted to show you a couple of possibilities. I'm going to have my card go horizontal or landscape style. And then I've got a topper for it. And what I was thinking was, and then you can kind of see how this works, was to take this again and take the Crumb Cake again and get a piece of scrap paper. And I doubled them up just because I didn't want to use a bunch of blocks. So if you notice, these stamps look different from the other stamps. These are the red rubber stamps, and the other stamps are the photopolymer stamps. So with the red rubber stamps, I do not need to use a cushion. With the photopolymer stamps, I usually use a mouse pad or a stack of papers or a piece of craft foam, or you can of course use our Stampin' Pierce mat. If you already have one at home, that's a great thing to use. So I'm inking it up with the crumb cake, and I'm stamping off once, because even that crumb cake, oh, I don't like the way that inked up though. Even that crumb cake just looked a little too dark for me to be able to color over it and have it look good. So I stamped once, and then I'm going to, let's go down, stamp again, and then I'm going to stamp once, and stamp again. And I am going to go over that with, well, I went over it with the Lemon Lolly before. Maybe I could try a different color this time. Or they could really all be different colors. I know I'm kind of going crazy with the bubble bath, but maybe that would be a fun choice. So let's see, let's get the bubble bath markers out, and I'll start with the light, and then I'll decide if I want to do both. Oh, but I also need the crumb cake markers. And I can't remember if I used the light or the dark, so I'll start with the light. So what I did was, for this part here that kind of looks like maybe the frosting just didn't happen to hit this part, or maybe you're looking at it from a side view, you know, take your pick what it's supposed to look like. So I'm coloring this with the light crumb cake so that this looks like the cakey part of the donut. And I'll do the same thing with this one. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. I want to leave that white line there just because it gives the whole thing some definition. So I'm trying not to color on it, but right under it. And then I'm trying not to go too far out of the lines because I'm not cutting this one out. The other one I cut out. If you're cutting it out and you go out of the lines, nobody's ever going to know because you're just going to cut that part off. Okay. So I think for this one I'll use the brush tip. Let's see. So yes, it's kind of brown, which means that you're not going to get a pure pink. It's still letting me see the lines. I think you can see that, where the sprinkles will be. And again, I'm going to try not to go out of the lines or over the edge here. Try not to go... Oh, I don't want that to be pink, do I? No, that's the inside of the donut, so I would want that to be the crumb cake too. Glad I caught that before I got too far there. Yeah, so I'm using the light. And maybe I'll go over it with the dark in a few places just so that looks a little bit more pink, because right now, to be honest, it looks a little muddy. I was not wanting to cover up those little white marks, but I can actually still see them. And if I were to cover them up, then I just kind of make it up as I went along and just make the little sprinkles wherever I wanted them. So I don't see that as being too big of a problem, but I can still see them. I don't know if you can, but I can. So I hope everybody had or is having a nice Valentine's Day, whether you did something nice for yourself or somebody else did something nice for you, went out to dinner or made a nice dinner at home. I haven't had dinner yet, but I'm not having anything too fancy. And a neighbor did come over today, and he was kind of funny. He offered me, I've done a couple of little favors for him recently, and he has a tendency to do something nice for me if I do a little favor for him. So he offered me, he had 2 packages of strawberries in his hand. One was chocolate-covered strawberries, and one was just a heart-shaped box with just really nice-looking strawberries in it. So I took a deep breath and did the right thing and asked him for just the regular strawberries, which I had for lunch in my strawberry cheesecake yogurt. And I gotta tell you, it was really yummy. So I passed on the chocolate-covered ones, and he was going to give whatever I didn't pick to somebody else. So that worked out well. I don't usually do anything special for Valentine's Day much anymore. You know, New Year's Eve, I'll make myself a nice dinner. I didn't even really do too much for Super Bowl. I had some snacks, but they were kind of funny snacks. My friend Audrey was not impressed with my snacks. I have chips that are kind of like Doritos, but they're made out of almond flour, and they do some strange things to your stomach. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so I have light Granny Apple Green, and I'm just going to go totally different with this one and make this one light Granny Apple Green. Oh, I want to use the brush though. And then I had another kind of chip that was made out of chickpeas, and then yet another kind of snack that is made out of like ground freeze-dried green peas. I know, sounds gross, but I actually like all of them except the one made with the almond flour that was like a Dorito. That one was a little odd, and I'm not sure that I'll buy that again. But the others are actually good, and I did have like even a little dip with them. So it was all kind of healthy stuff. No pizza and chicken wings, although I could have made pizza. I could have made like a, what do you call it? Cauliflower crust pizza. But I just wasn't really in the mood. It was a good game though, don't you think? I didn't care about either team. I'm not all caught up in the whole Taylor Swift thing, even a little. Just not at all. If anything, I would say I might have been rooting for the Chiefs because, what's his name? Kelsey, her boyfriend, seems like a nice guy, and I'm afraid he's going to get his heart broken. So therefore, I decided that it might be nice to root for him. That, you know, like nothing to do with football or the real world at all, right? Okay, so now I'm just going to grab any variety. Yep, there they go. You hear them? Yep. That one sounded more like a car, though, didn't it? Yeah. So, oh, no, I don't want the brush end for that. So they give you two ends on this. One is a bullet tip, which is a little bit harder. You still don't want to press hard, though. They're still gentle, and they're kind of pricey. So if you start collecting them, which is what I did a little at a time, you want to take care of them. You want to be nice with them. Anyway, so I just had in my head that maybe he was going to get heartbroken, and so I'll root for him. But then he had that kind of nasty moment with his coach. Wasn't terrible, and he did apologize for it, apparently, on his podcast with his brother today. Said that he really, you know, pretty much sounds like he worships his coach, and said he didn't even know if he'd ever play for anybody else again if the coach retired. So I'll forgive him. But anyway, it was a good game, though. I like those games where you're on the edge of your seat until it's over. And they had to go into overtime, and you know, so that makes it kind of exciting, even if you don't know what's going on, and I really don't. I try sometimes to figure it out, but honestly, I don't get it. I get the field goals, and I get the touchdowns and how many points those are. I don't understand the yards or if they really count for anything or how that works. I just don't. That part I don't get. And I suppose I could take the time to learn, but so far I just haven't. So I'm just adding some sprinkles here in different colors. I've used some, I think it was sweet sorbet, and now I'm using some, no, this is the sweet sorbet, and I used some, what the heck was it? Dark Highland Heather and some dark Tahitian Tide. Just trying to add some color to this. Let's see if I can get something in here I didn't use the last time. How about dark gorgeous grape? That would be a good one, I think. Oh yeah, although it looks almost navy blue, doesn't it? Well, cherry cobbler, dark cherry cobbler. I'm going to use all the darks just so it really shows up nicely. And then since I'm getting kind of tired of this, I'm just going to fill in whatever I haven't already done with whatever color's in my hand right now. No, I might have lied. I want to get something dark and green in there. At least on the one that's not green. Okay, so this is, yep, it is Old Olive. Okay, so good enough. I think I got them all. Put those out of the way instead of putting them away. All right, I think this was supposed to be the bottom of my card, and then I'll take this other donut And I'll pop that up on some dimensionals. So you can see why I said 2 cards would be enough, right? So I think this would make a fun birthday card. However, I started to think about it and I thought it would also make a fun kind of like an invitation. So let's say if you were inviting someone to a kid's birthday party where you're going to the movies, you could make your invitation with some of these or just one of them on it. And again, you don't have to fussy cut it. That's just, I actually enjoy it. Strange as it sounds, it's relaxing to me. So yeah, Amy says these cards are fun, and this is fun. The other one was kind of fun too, but in a different way. And Amy knows all about babies and baby cards and baby photo albums because she's got like more grandchildren than you can shake a stick at, don't you? So I grabbed, and this is another set that, you know, I would really say to you, if you don't have this set, because this one has carried over at least twice that I know of. I love the flowers, and I'll probably use this in the coming weeks because I want people to see what's going to be available in the annual catalog and how long it's going to be around for. I just want to make sure that I'm talking right. The annual catalog goes until April. So I can't remember if it's April 30th. So the end of April it goes until. All right, so it's really time to start using some of these so you can see what they do. What I love about this set, I love all of the flowers, don't get me wrong, but I love the sentiments. I love the kind of extra large thanks, the hello, the best wishes, and the happy birthday that's just not super bold, not super large, but large enough and that it really kind of stands out and that it's all capital letters. It's one of my favorite sentiments. I'm just very fond of it. So that's why I picked that today to use. All right, so this for me is just going to be a very simple happy birthday card. And if I want to make it really happy, let's see, I'd probably choose one of the colors. I grabbed Poppy Parade, and I think I meant to grab Sweet Sorbet. Let me see if I put that away yet or where it is. It's probably, I use Sweet Sorbet for my the Valentine's cards because I like that color for some things better than real red. But at the moment, I don't have a clue where it is. Oh wait, yes I do. Yes I do. Here I put my inks where I can reach them and my punches where I can reach them. At home, I really can't do that, so they're always like I have to move my chair and then you hear my chair squeaking. If you remember, my chair at home squeaks really bad. All right, so happy birthday there. Very nice. Okay. But you could just as easily have this card be, you know, a cotton candy, a donut, and popcorn, or a cotton candy, a donut, and this, or 3 of the candy apples, or 3 of these, however you want to do it, or just 1 if you didn't want to go all to the trouble of coloring all of those. That would be entirely up to you. And I took the, I think it's the lemon lime twist. I'm pretty sure that's lemon lime twist is my base. Geez, talk much. Because I thought that would just be kind of fun too. And that's kind of all there is to it. But again, I wanted to show you some alternatives using the same set. Sometimes if you see me just make one thing with a set, you get it in your head that that's all you can do with it. And then you think, well, that set's not too versatile. And most of our sets really, really are. You just have to use, you know, a little bit of your imagination. So I might continue playing with these and make a few more using the other stamps just so that you can kind of see what they'll look like. But I wanted you to just see that for tonight and not take too much time. So here are the 2 cards that we're making tonight, and I will definitely make another one because I promised you that if you make a purchase, you'll get everything that you need in a kit to make 3 kits, or 3 cards. So that means you would get the card stock for the base, you would get the card stock for the liner, and I pulled out a couple of different liners for this one. because I wanted to show you. There they are. You know, I put things down, and as soon as I put them down, it's like they're totally gone. So this is donuts, so do I think I have to have donuts on the inside of the card? Not necessarily. I could make kind of a weird little collage on the inside of the card using a couple of the things and just putting them real close to each other and maybe going off the edge. So maybe I'll do that so you can see that too. And that type of thing could also be the front of a card. Okay. So I will definitely make one more card so that you have a choice. But as I said, because there's no designer series paper here and there are no die cuts of donuts or other things, the only thing that I can say to you is that if you wanted to make these exact cards or something very similar, you would really have to purchase these stamp sets. So the Cradled in Love, as I mentioned before, is a celebration set. So that is one that you would get for free with a $50 purchase. And that's all you would have to spend to get that for free, but it has to be $50 before tax and shipping. That's just kind of the rule of the road. That's the way it goes. And then for this one, it's amazing. I just put something down and it's gone in a second. Here it is under all the markers. This one is actually a host set. So again, that's a little tough. So I kind of apologize for that. This one you're only going to get, you're going to get it either free or discounted with a purchase depending on your purchase. And I will take a minute just to explain that, because any catalog we have other than the celebration one, which is technically not a catalog, it's a brochure. If you look in the very back of any catalog, whether it's our holiday catalog or in this case the spring mini catalog, in the back there's a couple of things for you to see. So there's always a little something about the kits and paper pumpkins, so you can learn more about that. And then there's always something about the joining special, and please do remember that the joining special right now is that if you join, you get $125 worth of products for only $99, and you will get totally free as part of that kit, but not included in the items that you have to purchase. Oh, am I saying that right? So you will pick out $125 worth of product from any current catalog. And once you do that, you have your starter kit. You're going to pay $99 for that. There's no shipping. Of course, you have to pay tax. There's no escape from tax. And then you will get that beautiful glass mat totally for free. If you're not interested in the glass mat at all, then you get to choose $30 more of product. Okay, so you're getting $155 worth of product for $99. So that's pretty good. And then the other thing that you will always see is what the host rewards are. So the original intent of this was that people had home parties, like you go to a Tupperware party or a Tastefully Simple party or a Pampered Chef party or whatever. You go to a party at someone's house. It costs you nothing. If you host the party, it costs you nothing. Obviously you're inviting friends over. You're probably going to have a bottle of wine. Maybe you're going to make some munchies. Maybe not. Depends what your friends are into. You might just have some candy or some snacks, whatever. Okay? And if your friends, relatives, whoever, come to the party and find some things they like and buy them, then you've become a host and you become eligible for host rewards. So if your party sales are, let's say, $150, and if you had 10 people, that wouldn't be hard to do, let me tell you. It wouldn't be hard to do at all. If your party sales are $150, you get 10% in Stampin' Rewards, okay, that you can spend, so you can get any item in the catalog that you want 10% off. If your total party sales are $300, you get 12%. If they're $450, you get 14%, and you get a free item. If they're $600 or more, which is probably pushing it just a little, to be very honest with you, you get 16% off, and you get a free item. Or 50% off an item. I'm sorry, 50% off an item. So that can be to your advantage as well. And so that's what this is. This is a host item. However, it's a $24 value, and you can purchase it for $14 with some host rewards. So that's how that works. So you can get that whether you get it at 50% off or just at a discount. Okay? So that one, like I said, is a little bit different. Maybe, thinking about it now, and the same thing is true in the annual catalog. In the very back, we've got the, whatever you call it, the index. So then there's the host rewards, and in the annual catalog there's usually multiple choices. In the smaller catalogs there aren't. So in this one there's a choice of 2 different stamp sets that you can get. And then, of course, they always have the join offer, whatever that is. No matter what kind of special occasion is happening, the join offer is minimally always $125 in product for $99. And then during celebration, sometimes when a new catalog comes out. Did you hear that? You couldn't miss it, right? I knocked something over. Then sometimes you get extra bonuses thrown in. Like last year, it was the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which is, I think, a $60 item, and you got it for $30. But if you didn't want it, then you just got more in the way of free product. Anyway, I might make another card that uses some other product that you can just buy outright. Celebration is good because, like I said, it's not hard to spend $50 at all. I guarantee you, if you look through the catalog, you're going to see at least $50 worth of things that you think you just have to have. But this one might be a little bit harder to get, so I think I might make one more card with something a little bit different, so you have some options. All right? And thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate you being here, and please catch me on the replay, as I know many of you do, and I will see you 1 week from tonight. Have a great night, whatever you're doing, and again, happy Valentine's Day.